Welcome to the Temple of Death guide. This dungeon could be a little tough because there are a lot of trash mobs and lots of rooms to move around in. So if your class has bad AoE or bad movement speed, this dungeon can be a drag. Unlike Azure Main, which only has 4 bosses, Temple of Death has up to 7 bosses, or 8 if you count different phases. You need to move fast and really know your gimmicks if you're barely at the cut line. So let's go inside and figure out what to do. This dungeon has 2 phases. In phase 1, you start on the surface, and then into phase 2, you'll descend into the actual Temple of Death. The main gimmick of the dungeon is the morale system. You want higher morale because you get massive damage bonuses or penalties if you don't have enough. Each boss has a certain amount of morale, and if you have more than they do, you get a damage bonus. Basically, for every boss that you face, make sure you have more morale than they do, and you should always have the damage bonus active. When you defeat a boss, the amount of morale that you get from them is equal to the amount that the boss has. We'll go more in depth as we explain each boss. There is another main gimmick to this dungeon, and it has to do with these cards. These cards are random and they give different bonuses, but basically I ignore the system because it doesn't really change the way that you play, with one exception. The final card can be changed, but we'll go over that when we get there. Now let's go over all of the bosses. By the way, I will only go over important attacks. We're at the point in DFO where you should be good enough at the game to dodge most of the easy patterns. If it's red, it's bad. Dodge it. I will only go over patterns where it might not be intuitive at first. Let's go over Falling Ostry first. When he has a casting bar that says "Smells so tasty," you can dodge by going into these holes, or alternatively, you're supposed to destroy the rocks that have HP bars. There's 1 or 2 that spawn. If you don't destroy them, it hits you. Every now and then he'll surround you with some rocks. Find the rock that has an HP bar, get out of there, and you'll be safe. For his main attack pattern, he's gonna eat 3 of those purple rocks you get out of the ground. So first, dig one of those rocks out of the ground by auto-attacking it, and then go into a hole to get to safety. You can tell where the holes are going to spawn based on where the red areas are attacking. So whenever you see a red area, a hole is about to spawn there. So grab a purple rock, go inside a hole and wait. Do this 3 times. Now for Gluttonous Taigo. Even though the boss is called Gluttonous Taigo, kind of, you're actually supposed to be hitting the plant thing in the middle, not the actual baboon thing that's following you around. When you see the casting bar and the green goop thing in the air, jump right when his eyes start shining. If the plant thing starts to target you, you can actually redirect him into Taigo and get a little bit of a damage face here. For the main pattern, you want to lead Taigo to eat all those little things that are being spit out, and when he eats enough, you get a 3 damage phase like this. Now let's go over Camirak. When you're fighting him, take note of the positions of where those little bird totems are, because there's a gimmick where crows start flying towards you, and in order to get rid of them, you have to hit those totems. Just like that. For his main pattern, he's going to absorb a bunch of totems. You have to let him absorb as many as possible, but do not let him absorb the blue greenish ones. If you do, it doesn't count towards the count total on the bottom, and also explodes the whole map, so make sure you touch all of them. If you have good headphones, you can actually tell which side the totems are going to come from, either the right or the left on this part. But if you don't, just go to the outer edges so you can react to it faster. There will be some random runs where, in addition to all these totems you have to deal with, there's a random purplish one, and it never goes away. Just keep tapping it to make sure it doesn't touch Camirak though, because it will explode the whole map. Before we move on to phase 2, I wanted to go over a little bit about pathing in phase 1. Falling Ostry and Gluttonous Taigo each have 3 morale. So you need to kill enough trash mobs so that you have 4 morale before you fight them. If you clear most of the trash mob rooms, you should have plenty to do so. And then you can fight the second boss, you should have plenty of morale for that. And then Camirak has only 5 morale, so if you fight those 2 bosses, you'll have plenty of morale for those fights. After this, you will begin phase 2 and you will fight Rubra the Profane. Every now and then, she'll have a little quick time event where you press tab, and you have to press the direction keys to match the arrows. And this happens multiple times, so make sure you're in a safe position. You are moving at the same time while doing this, so be quick with the arrow keys and move after that. When Rubra does this ring thing, make sure you jump and then go outside or inside the circle depending where the AoE is. For her main pattern, she's going to make you do the quick time event multiple times. I recommend personally doing the lower amount of arrow keys first, so that way you can mash the arrow keys on the higher amount of arrows. She's going to do this multiple times, and then you have a damage phase. I also want to add that you have plenty of time to mash the arrow keys, so be precise. Don't worry, you will have time. After fighting Rubra, you have a full map of more trash mobs. Let me explain what to do here. If you take a look at the mini-map, you'll notice a few things. The question marks are the bosses that you need to fight. And the little star are a few buffs that you can get. And there's a few types of buffs you can get here. One of the buffs are utility buffs. So for example, this one, I got a fire buff. Anytime I step anywhere near an enemy, they automatically start dying. Just like in this example. The second buff is always a teleportation sort of buff. It's not that useful. If you're far away from the boss, sure, go ahead and use it, but you really don't need to take it if you don't need to. There are all kinds of different buffs. In this example, you get this little jellyfish, and this is one of the better ones because this gives you free morale, and that's always nice. Let's now go over nesting Veroro. He's pretty low on morale, so you can fight him immediately when you start going inside the temple if you want to. But if he's close by, go ahead and fight him. If he's not, fight some trash mobs on the way. Pay attention to some of his patterns. There will be a ball of wind. Grab that when you can. That will give you some safe zones whenever there's swampy areas there. And there won't always be a casting bar when the ball of wind shows up, so just pay attention. If you don't, you get hurt a lot by the swampy areas. For his main pattern, he's going to start launching you into the air, and when he does, you're supposed to land into the ball of winds, and then press the attack button and shoot the wind into him. Do this 3 times and you get a free damage phase. When you defeat Veroro, don't forget to collect his carcass. He'll give you a free morale boost. If you happen to skip this boss, because you can skip him if you clear phase 1 early enough, instead of his carcass, there will be an extra buff, a statue that will give you the same buffs that he would have given you. Before you fight Kind Death Cenir, make sure you have at least 41 morale. This is one of the tougher fights. She has a lot of HP, and if you don't have enough morale, it'll be insanely hard. When Cenir starts to count down first gaze, second gaze, and so on, you have to drag the cat aura that's around you to the cat that's on the field. So go left here. I'll show an example of what it looks like when you don't do it, so she'll attack you instead. So for some reason she's decided to miss, which doesn't help my example, but that's what it looks like. Every now and then she'll do a bunch of AoE attacks, and then she'll do a giant slash. Notice here, she's about to slash the whole map except the safe zone around her. But this will all disappear. You have to remember that it's right next to Cenir. Go to her. Then you'll be safe from her massive AoE. For her main attack, she's going to envelop the whole map into darkness. There will be these giant dark spheres. You have to bump into them twice. You're going to do this multiple times until her neutralization gauge is down. So on this part, go ahead, bump it twice, get out of the AoE. And on this part specifically, you have to stay in the purple circle for a little bit. This is a safe zone. And then get out, right when it turns red. Those purple circles are only safe zones during this specific attack pattern. Normally, they are not safe zones whatsoever. So normally also during this gimmick, you usually won't get this far. You might get to the second or third orb before you finally neutralize Cenir, but I just wanted to show you what the whole thing looks like. After you defeat Cenir, you get your final card, and I will explain what each of these cards do and how you can change it. The first card is Mysterious Helper, aka Michael. When you ever get this, when you fight the last boss, Vissima, In her first phase, she'll have 80 morale. In her second phase, she'll have up to 99 morale, or as low as 80, depending on how much damage you do in between her phases. And I'll explain that later. Michael skips that phase and automatically lowers her morale to 80 during her second phase. The next card is Death Knight Address. And so basically she does a good chunk of damage to Vissima in phase 1, helps you out during that part. The next card we'll have Kind Death Cenir. She basically helps you during phase 2 of Vissima. She doesn't do damage like Address does, but she stun locks Vissima so you can wail on her for a little bit. For the last one we have Death's Sentinel. I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what this does. I know what it looks like though. It looks like this. I don't really know what it does though. If someone knows, please put it in the comments. So after you defeat Cenir, you get 2 more buffs on the map. So one of them is going to be a bonus damage to Vissima, and the other one, you get to change which card you rolled. So here's what it looks like. The card that you want to roll for, I'm not sure which one is the best. It depends on your opinion. I like to get Michael, the Mysterious Helper, because that means you don't have to get more than 81 morale, because sometimes farming the trash mobs is a pain. So if I get Michael, I don't have to farm any more morale. I'll just go to 81 and then fight Vissima right away. Vissima Phase 1 has 81 morale, so you need at least that to fight her, or that's how much you should have. And Phase 2 can have up to 99 morale, but you can get it to as low if you're at cut line maybe 90, 93 or so. So make sure you have enough morale so you can fight her for Phase 2. Unless, of course, you have Michael, then 81 is fine. Speaking of Vissima, this is how you fight her. She has 2 phases. Before you fight Vissima, and honestly I probably should have said this at the beginning, before you fight most of these dungeons, go to settings, go to effect, lower your skill effect opacity, right? Lower this so that you can actually see where your character is, what the bosses are actually doing. If you have too much opacity, there's a lot of skills in DFL are way too flashy. So lower the opacity for yourself. And also, speaking of which, lower your party members' opacity so that you don't see what they're doing. Otherwise, there's too much stuff on the screen. Most of Vissima's attacks rely on her sweeping the ground. You'll see smears in the ground. Dodge and stay away from the direction that the smears are going. Every now and then she'll have a little flower on the screen. You can grab that flower to make yourself immune to 1 hit from those smears, but honestly just dodge, it's not that hard. If you need help, you can also use the skill Leap and jump over most of the stuff. But this part's not that bad. For her main attack pattern, Vissima's going to make you summon some clones of yourself, and they move according to how you move. So they're going to be purple, and you have to get them into the correct color circles on the map. So they start out as purple. In order to turn a clone red, you have to get that clone to walk into one of the flowers on the side. My recommendation is always to fill in the purple circles first, and then gather the flowers you need and fill in the rest of those circles. The last part is always going to be all red. And after doing this 3 times, Vissima's going to have a little safe zone, stay in the safe zone, and just going to do a whole map-wide AoE, and then you'll get a damage phase right after this. After phase 1, you're going to have a little bit of a transition phase. During this transition phase, Vissima's morale will go all the way up to 99. You have to drag the purple circle that's attached to you, or the purple orb, into the purple circle. If you don't do this, it will start hurting you and do us a lot of damage. You hit the green orb in the middle and it lowers the morale of Vissima. It can go as low as 80, but honestly, if you have enough morale, more than she does, you can stop right there. You should save your skills for the fight. So phase 2 kinda gets a little crazy. She's going to do a bunch more of those attacks that smear the ground, but at much faster pace. At the same time, you see the casting bar at the bottom. That means that a sword's going to plunge into the earth and you have to jump to avoid it. So while you're dodging all these things, you also have to dodge the sword by jumping. The best way I recommend taking care of this is by learning the skill Leap and jumping whenever you can. You can dodge the smear marks this way and also have a bigger window to dodge the swords that plunge into the ground. So for the final attack, it looks like a lot is happening. You need to calm down. This is what you're supposed to do. Vissima will slash the middle first, so you have to stay to the side. the sword will also plunge at the same time. So all you have to do is jump, stand aside, and then go to the middle. Like this. Jump here, and then go to the middle, and you're safe. Now you get a nice damage phase, and there are a few more patterns to this phase too, but honestly, I had not seen any of these patterns until I started making this video. You really don't need to know them. It's the same, more the same thing. So that's pretty much it. That's all the bosses in Temple of Death. Now, my next video is going to be Unshackled Nightmare with Zermio, and then soon after we'll have to take care of Sarposa when the next month rolls around. The Nabel Raid guide is coming along. It's a little tougher because Nabel Raid is a group party content, and it's really hard to get footage for all the gimmicks in that dungeon because you can't solo it, but it'll get done eventually. The next semi-raid, Inae, is coming, so I'm probably going to prioritize that because that might be a video that people need more. Nabel Raid is almost old content at this point. But anyways, thank you all so much for supporting. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm here just to help all the newbies and the returning players. So all your support is much appreciated. I'll see you guys next time.